Alexander Alfano reporting for Financial Legal Group. Today, February 7th, 2017, we have a showdown taking place in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco, California, where President Trump's executive order on immigration has prompted a real constitutional showdown that could leave a mark on the law for generations to come. And a ruling by the court on Donald Trump's travel ban on 7 predominantly Muslim countries could help address some important legal questions. For example, how much independent constitutional authority does the president have on matters of immigration? And a parallel question is, how much power does Congress have to provide to the president in these areas of immigration? The likely answer to both questions is a lot. But other parts of the Constitution may limit or even defeat the power provided to the president on matters of immigration. Among them are the Due Process Clause and the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, and also the First Amendment's ban on the government's endorsement or establishment of religion. Now, let's look at the leading arguments in the case. What have the judges said? Well, many trial judges around the country have blocked certain aspects of President Donald Trump's executive order, but none have issued an order as broad as the one by Judge James Robart, the federal judge in Seattle, who blocked key parts of the executive order which had suspended travel from 7 countries and limited the nation's refugee program. The case is now before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco. That court, on Saturday, just a few days ago, declined to issue an immediate stay of the lower court's ruling. In other words, the executive order is now on hold. It has been enjoined on account of the federal judge's order, Judge Robart's, in Seattle. But the court did indicate that it would weigh the arguments of each party and review the briefs that were filed by each party, with one last brief due yesterday on Monday. And after it rules, an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court is almost all but certain. Now, how broad is the president's constitutional power? Well, Article 2 of the Constitution confers authority on the president. The Supreme Court has said to conduct foreign affairs, and this includes addressing matters of immigration. Well, in their brief to Judge Robart in the Seattle federal court, lawyers for Washington State, which was one of the states that sued the Department of Justice and Homeland Security, along with the state of Minnesota. So it's the 2 plaintiffs here are Washington and Minnesota. And they were alleging that there were constitutional checks on the president's powers. And they went on to say that while courts give certain latitude to the political branches in the context of immigration, this does not mean that any of these branches, including the executive branch, can act with impunity, is what one of the briefs was quoted as saying. The brief went on to say, the federal courts have no more sacred role than protecting the marginalized groups of irrational, discriminatory conduct. Well, in the Ninth Circuit, the Trump administration has argued that judges were ill-equipped to decide cases involving national security. Unlike the president, courts do not have access to classified information about the threats posed by terrorist organizations operating in certain nations, the efforts of those organizations to infiltrate the United States, or even the gaps in the vetting process of how refugees and non-immigrants and immigrants travel to the United States. Noah Purcell, the Solicitor General of the state of Washington for one of the plaintiffs, appeared to concede that there were areas in which President Trump was entitled to act. But he asked the court to protect people whose lives had been changed by suddenly and dramatically changed by the president's executive order. He went on to argue that the focus of the state of Washington's claim is on people who have been here and have, overnight, lost the right to travel, the right to visit their families, the right to perform research, and have lost the right to go to speak at conferences around the world. Also, people who have lived here for extended periods of time and happen to be overseas at the time of the order have been dealing with the situation with no warning whatsoever. And suddenly, lost the right to return to the United States. They're arguing that this is a constitutional violation. So today, Tuesday, February 7th, we will have to see where the Ninth Circuit falls in this very important immigration case regarding President Donald Trump's executive order. This is Alexander Alfano reporting for Financial Legal Group.